Yeah, so we're talking about bad feedback today, right?
Is it? I can't remember. Yes, sure. I know. We talked for a while about this.
We really did. We need to write these things down, man. Welcome back, marketing nerds of the world. It's time for another episode of HAMYAW, and today we want to talk about taking things extremely personally. This is something that happens so often in the entrepreneurial space where we are selling stuff, you're doing your work, you're putting yourself out there in that vulnerable space, trying to help people. And it's just incredibly freaking difficult not to take something personally when someone gives you feedback that's less than fabulous, when somebody's having a challenge in one of your programs that you haven't experienced yet, or when somebody feels like they should be getting more from or less from you. There is so many opportunities for us to tear ourselves to little pieces all over the floor, taking things way too personally. So today, Mark, what I want to talk about, how we kind of overcome that, some strategies for taking things perhaps a little less personally, and also sharing our stories of obsessively taking everything we possibly can to heart. Margot, how personally are you taking this right now?
Do you hate me?
Are you mad? Are you mad at me? Yeah. Yep. Very that.
Wow, ladies, we have so much work to do. It is so hard. I will tell you, the only thing that really broke me of this, and it's still something I struggle with, was hitting scale.
Yeah.
When I, for the first time, had programs that were like more than 5 people, and I started to see that the reactions really had nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And that like my commitment was to the integrity of the work, and that after that, whatever happened was on them. And I was able to see, especially with students, where if some students came in, like they wanted to get something out of it, and they would. They would, even if my content wasn't perfect, they were like, we learned, this was great.
Yeah.
And then there were other people who came in and like, this sucks, you suck. And then they just didn't do anything. And I was like, but the work was the same. Like, the product wasn't different. So as much as I try and personalize it, at a certain point, I started to see a pattern. And like, all I can ever do is keep the integrity of the work as strong as possible. But then after that, it's up to them. Now, obviously, I'm telling y'all this, and then I put my stuff out, and then I go into a rabbit hole of doom where I'm like, it should have been better. It's my fault. I take full responsibility for their experience. And it's called Codependence. If anyone wants to Google it, I recommend the book Codependent No More. It's very good. You are not responsible for the feelings of others.
Say it while you clap your hands. Continue.
It's so hard.
We look to the reputations that we have in the online space too. I think a lot of this happens because reputation is so important in the online space. I think it's really, in some ways, and we've talked about this on the show before, you know, sometimes you feel like it's all you have, because especially if you're more referral based, especially if you're building, you really want to have that immaculate reputation where everyone came and hung out in your program and everyone got perfect scores and A+, and everything was fine and dandy and no one complained and everyone loved you and made you the president. And I think that that's a wonderful thing to aim for. And certainly I am obsessed with achieving that result. When I started with my products and programs, I would test things, run 2 or 3 betas, you know, just to make sure things worked for enough people. And I think that was smart. But it was from a strategic standpoint, but it was also from an insecurity place where I was like, I want to give people plenty of room to tell me I suck. Just in case it's true. Again, it came from that strategic, but also very insecure place. And this is actually what I come across a lot with my clients as well, is because so much of business is betting on yourself. And betting on yourself means saying, all right, if there's negative feedback, I'm going to take it and use it or not. That's why we also want to spend a little time today talking about who should you be taking negative feedback from in the first place. But that's why I was so uncomfortable when I was also getting into the sphere of coaching and doing more programs and teaching more, when someone told me, and we've talked about this on the show, where it was like, you can deliver perfectly and beautifully to 80% of people, but there's always going to be that 20% who see things differently, who don't resonate with the work, who can't do the work for one reason or another, or who just don't want to. And you're going to run into that, and it's not your fault. And I think that it's really easy to, especially as women, to make everything our fault, because then it's convenient, because then we don't have to be mad at anyone but ourselves. And we're so good at being mad at ourselves. So I think that that's something that, you know, I'm constantly sitting with. And my poor coach, she's so tired of hearing me talk about it.
Can we sit there for a second though? Because I think this is a really important point, that I think all of us in the online space are so sensitive and disgusted by the cheap or lazy programs that have been sold and misled us.
Yeah.
So those of us that have overcorrected, we're like obsessed with the quality of our programs. We don't want to make any claims that would be misleading. And then we sort of overcorrect by taking too much responsibility for things that we cannot control and then berate ourselves. That's also not a useful posture. And I remember when I was running one of my first courses and I had like a significant number of people and I was watching them engage with the material and I was like, ugh, this prompt I wrote, it's not landing. They're not getting it. I'm an idiot. I can't believe I put that there. And my husband, he was trained as a teacher way back when. He was Teach for America.
Teach for America.
He was like, yeah, so here's the thing. Everyone has a different learning style. And if you didn't take what people's baseline was, you can't measure them by anything because you don't know where they're starting. And you can't be responsible for whether they did the homework or not. And I was like, but this isn't education. And he's like, teaching? I was like, but I can't make a claim that I am teaching them something and then they don't learn the thing. And he was like, okay, but hold on. You can't measure this. Like what they're going to get out of it is what they're going to get out of it. And I was like, well, that's a convenient tool for abdicating responsibility. And he was like, but you're going the other extreme and being insane. And I was like, okay, there's got to be a middle ground here. And the middle ground really is what you said about being really, really objective, where I looked at, let's use Akimbo, for example, because everyone knows about that one. When we did the beta, there were a few things that were very obviously wrong. And when I got feedback on them, it hurt, but I also knew it was wrong. And it stopped being a reflection of me personally, because I, one, couldn't control it. Two, I knew it was problematic. And three, I knew we could fix it. And so,
there we go.
It sucked that that was part of these people's experience. But I didn't lie about it. Was upfront, and I appreciated what people told me. And some of the feedback was genuinely helpful. And it really took me being secure in my content and in my curriculum and in my teaching ability, which I think that really hinges on that. And then detaching myself in a healthy way when someone was like, yeah, you didn't tell me when live calls were, and that was really a problem. I'm like, actually, that really wasn't. We should have done that. We should have done that.
Should have done that. Yeah.
Done that.
You're right.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Fair. But it's not, you didn't give me a call time. You're a terrible person and I hate you and you will never be president of the world. And that's so important too. It's like that decoupling our self-worth from our work and the worth of our work. And it's so funny. Like we put all this pressure on ourselves to literally do the impossible. So many people want to land it perfectly on the first try and just blow everybody away and have a fantastic time. And everyone gets incredible results across the board. Perfect A++++. And it is literally impossible to do that. It is impossible. You will never win.
Hillary.
That will never. You're very special, and just don't. I say this as someone who constantly puts this pressure on myself, and every single time I sell something, I've been selling, like teaching, coaching, educating for years now. You know, I think 2016 was my first course launch, and every single time before I take something live, I'm like, oh fuck, can I actually deliver on this? Even if I've run the damn thing like 100 times, there's always that worry. Am I going to let someone down with this? And in learning to be with that has been so essential, because if I was left to my own devices, I'd be running screaming from the hills, or at the very least, I'd still be copywriting, you know? So I think that the focus for me has turned from like, how can I be perfect and please everybody? To your point, like, how can I get myself into the mindset where I'm delivering my best work and I'm expecting feedback that's going to allow me to improve this.
Get better. Yes.
You know?
That is key, because like, we get into this, it's all about me. It's actually very egocentric about
yes. So I was about to say that. Me. Huge ego. Yeah.
We're really obsessed with how we're being perceived, and that actually takes away from people's experience. And there is something really healthy about having that testing mindset of like, this is a thing I'm trying. Let's see what the market does. And for me, it's really helped to be around people with that mindset, because I don't naturally have it. I'm just like, I'm a sensitive snowflake and that's going to hurt my feelings. And it's really nice to watch people throw an offer out and be like, let's see what the market does. And I'm like, what? You didn't edit that. You just hit publish. I'm like, whoa, the horror. You know what it reminds me of?
What?
Do you ever watch comedy specials where a joke doesn't land and the comedian goes, oh, y'all didn't like that one?
Yeah, because I'm like, whatever. You know, I'm like, I need this energy in my life.
Yes. That's how I think we need to be, is that you need to look at that and go, oh, they didn't like that one, instead of, I'm a failure and I missed it right.
And this is humiliating and all these things. So this woman, Simone Grace Soul, who's a life coach, I believe, in the Cara Lowenthal sphere, she had this great post on Facebook the other day where she was like, my mom, whenever I'm worried about people not liking me and not having just like perfect approval across the board and never offending anybody and never letting anybody down or whatever, I think about my mom always says to me when I get in that zone, do you think you're better than Jesus? And she goes, you know, he was like the perfect person and people still hated him. In fact, they killed him. So if you think you're better than Jesus, we're going to have some problems. Like arguably the most perfect human alive, depending on, you know, which religion you follow, right? Are you better than Jesus? I was like, ooh, hot take. I mean, what day of the week is it? And how many tequilas have I had before I answer that question, honestly?
That was Jewish mom thing to say.
She's Korean. So I think it was like a Korean mom thing to say. It was just such a helpful reframe for me. I was like, oh, you're right. Like, there's just no way to get a perfect score across the board. We talk about this all the time here on HAMYAW, but it's so much harder in practice. Please love me. Please love me in everything I do.
Let's talk about what kind of feedback is helpful, because you said earlier who to accept feedback from and where you can hear hard things. Because I want to dive into with some of that, because getting it from customers is kind of what we've been referring to.
Of course.
And clients. And I think there's also getting it from colleagues, where some people are allowed to give you tough love and some people aren't. And I would say the same is true for customers, by the way, because there's some feedback from customers where I was like, wow, that was really thoughtful. And even if it wasn't what I wanted to hear, I so appreciate when they take the time to tell me what worked or didn't for them. And you can always tell when someone wants to make the thing better. Versus when they're just in it to be like, tear you down. You can kind of the energy.
Yeah, you really can. Like, I sensed it in the energy before, where people were like, came sort of looking for something that even though it wasn't explicitly offered, didn't get it and felt frustrated. So I think that I've seen that come up before. So my mentor, Sarah Ashman, raised this point to me too, where especially in like branding work, sometimes you're in a brand process and a client does an about face, you know, and they're like, wait a minute, I don't know if this is right. Like, let's pump the brakes. That can be really jarring, because you're like, hang on. We got this far. Are you sure? I always want to come at it reactionary, just be like, you don't like my fucking branding? Yeah, you can leave. But of course I go to bed and have a snack, and then, you know, I don't say that. And that's also not true, but it's one of those things where if you're hearing that feedback and you come at it from a place of curiosity and positivity, where you're like, okay, cool. So what's going on here? You know, it always works out. But for me, and this is back to the point Sarah Ashman was making, because I was frustrated. It doesn't happen all the time. But when it does happen, it's like, oh man, not again. And she asked this great question where she was like, well, did you do anything wrong? And I was like, what? No, like I showed up and did my job and I listened and I took notes and I put this together based on what we talked about. And she's like, okay, then you're fine. So client feedback I listen to is stuff when I know somebody has shown up and done the work.
Yes.
Because it's very easy to throw stones when you haven't really participated and you're like, I should have participated more. The big line for me is always like also the emotion and the feedback. Like if I can tell someone's taking out something on me, then I'm like, all right, I don't necessarily think I need to listen to this. Versus when it's like, hey, so I would have loved XYZ. I felt a little lost when ABC happened, and I get a little embarrassed and I have my little hot lightning bolt of like, oh, I failed you. I'm really grateful for it. And after like a couple of days, I'm like, okay, we can sit with that feedback now. We're no longer internalizing. And beyond client work, like the place this is where creative allies come in. And Margo and I talk about this all the time, y'all, because I only have a few select people who preview my work. Like you're one of them, Shay Howard's another. We've got and my coach, of course. I trust you guys to give me the hard feedback and say the hard things. And I also know you'll deliver it in a way that is kind, and I believe you. Like I don't take all of it on necessarily, because you don't necessarily have to listen to and apply all feedback.
Correct.
But for me, it's a matter of listening to, like, the source of the information is just as important as the information itself. So.
I think it's arguably more important.
Yeah.
I've definitely made this mistake with friends who are really smart, but like we're maybe too close career-wise, or like they project. And so they're hypercritical of stuff of mine. And like, that's always really hard, because I'm like, yeah, there was a typo, but I'll catch that. I think, why are we fighting about this? I think sometimes it's also in the tone. I'm trying to capture what it looks like when someone projects on you. Because like, it usually hits different. The people who I value their tough love feedback, they are courageous enough to tell me the thing I don't want to hear. And that's different than tearing me down and judging me. They're not the same. The people who tear you down, judge you, I think it hits different. Because it makes you feel insecure. Whereas the people who hit on a truth that you're avoiding, then you feel seen.
Yeah, and also a little shocked. You're like, oh God, yes, yeah, you're right, yeah. You know,
and you don't get defensive. You're more like, oh,
and getting comfortable with that feeling, because you're also not. It's not going to kill you. That's the reality as well. I talk about this with my coach constantly, where she's like, why are you taking everything so freaking personally? And I'm like, I don't know. Is it me? It's such a practice to be able to sit there and say like, okay, that worked, that didn't, carry on. I haven't perfected it yet. So if y'all have any secrets, please dial into the comments below and tell us what's been helpful. And we talk about this, like thinking about the bro marketers. They don't worry about all these million little things. They just test stuff, throw it out there, see what comes back, and move on. And I would love to cultivate that more in myself. But there's got to be that intersection, right? Of the like testing and trying, and in the actually doing the thing and putting your best foot forward. And, you know, wanting everyone to get the best results and the best results possible. And there's got to be a middle ground, man.
I know. I think there's a way where it's like there's this line between it's personal, but also it's not.
Like
you have to find that middle ground, which I think it's the thing you practice in all your relationships, of understanding how you relate to people, where it's you're not responsible for how someone else feels. But you are responsible for your behavior. And so like figuring out where those lines are, where the boundaries are, and more importantly than anything, y'all, if you take nothing else away, adopting that testing mentality. Where this is a reflection of the market, not necessarily a reflection of you, and that give yourself room to grow.
We have a whole episode on here. Is it you or the market, by the way, somewhere.
True.
Like somewhere here.
Of realizing like you do get better. And I'll use myself as an example. I mean, I am teaching copywriting, and then every time I sit down to write a new page, I'm like, well, it will obviously be brilliant because I'm the teacher.
I'm a genius.
And then it's like, wow, it's still not easy.
Absolutely. And this is part of mastery too. Like if you have an interest in mastering your craft, no matter what you do, you are literally signing up for failure, criticism, and judgment. Like that's all part of the process. It's not a bug, it's a feature. Again, saying this to y'all as much as to myself. And I see this hold so many clients back in just approaching the stage to talk about their stuff, because like, what if I'm wrong? What if I make a wrong promise? What if I say something that I can't deliver on? And it's like, okay, well, let's take that and let's think about it. Where is this coming from? Is that fear something that you actually have to be worried about? Is it something that you're looking around to make sure you avoid, which is great, you know, because that means the quality of your work will continue to increase, but you cannot let your desire for excellence stop you from even showing up and like throwing the freaking ball or risking a strikeout or whatever, baseball metaphors. We're so hung up on, I guess I would call it perfectionism, but it's more like egocentrism? No, it's perfectionism. Yeah, I think that's the clear delineation where it's like, if you're not going forward because something isn't ready, then don't. You have to decide what ready looks like for you. And that one, it's, well, I want everyone to love it and do perfectly and be perfect so everyone makes me president. I don't know why we're continuing with that metaphor in this episode, but we're anchoring into it. So if you're looking for that, that's from an ego place. Like that means you're holding back because you're feeling so sensitive that you worry if you put it out there and it's not tens across the board, you're going to be crushed. And that's just your ego talking. Like that's not real.
And it's also an abdication of responsibility. Because now you're putting it on someone else. They have to love me or I am worthless. Like you do have to have, and I think this is actually the solution, an inherent sense of worthiness. I think this is why so many women struggle with this in particular, but also creatives, is that we are so insecure about who we are and what we deserve that we don't have that entitlement to being like, all right, let's see what the market does.
Yeah. And so often in creativity, we're trying things that are new. You know, we're trying a new approach, we're testing new ideas, and we've like never seen anyone do this dance before. So and now we like read about it in a book maybe, and now we actually have to do the dance. And it's like, are we gonna get weird? Is it gonna, people are gonna laugh at us? Of course they will. But you'll be laughing at them soon enough, so don't worry about them. It's always better to be the person having fun on the dance floor than the people standing around it in a circle judging. I love that you also made that point, that I think this is the way out, is being able to divorce your ego from your work and your self-worth from your work, and creating that really clear delineation, because you're going to get sucked into the vortex if you don't, because it's going to mean you're riding high, you do so well, and then immediately you will collapse as soon as you get anything remotely resembling negative feedback, and you need that resilience.
I want to end this on like a more positive note, because people don't realize.
Stop being so insecure. God.
That's what my mom says.
Right?
Real helpful.
Oh, amazing. No one ever brought me that before.
Hadn't thought of it.
Problem solved.
Wow. Really appreciate it. That was so insightful. You improve. The process is iterative. And I think the more you throw your hat in the ring, the more you build that muscle of awareness. So like right now, I'll take things a little personally still when it comes to products or a lot.
Of
but
course.
when it comes to my writing, at this point, if someone's like, she's verbose and a little valley girlish, I'm like, all right, it's not for you. I feel really clear about who I am in my voice, and it's not for everyone. And like, it took me a really long time to get there, and it doesn't feel good. But now I'm like, I don't take the unsubscribes personally. I'm like, not for them. You do reach that point. But I will say on that same note, the praise also gets dimmed a little because it's also not a reflection of you. Like both the praise and the criticism are reflections of other people. And listen, the praise feels much better. But I don't hinge my well-being based on what people got out of it. It always feels good. And I think this is what the confusion is when people are like, it's for the fans, it's for y'all. When we're talking about a marketing page, right? A sales page, yes, it is about the other person. But when you're talking about work that you do that's personal, let's say I'm putting out a piece tomorrow. I wrote it because it was fun. Right? It was fun. I had a good time doing it. I think it will be valuable. It's based on lessons I learned for other people. Whether they liked it, I mean, I hope they like it, but the success or failure of it for me is, did it launch? And like, did I get it out? And did people take action afterwards? Like, did you feel inspired enough to do something afterwards? Then it's successful. After that, I really can't do much.
Yeah, it's true. And I think that we also need to remind ourselves, like my coach always gives me a good prompt when I'm getting up my own butt with this kind of stuff. And she asked me, okay, well, this is happening. What are you making it mean? Like if you get that negative feedback, like what are you making it mean? And she's like, if it's, you know, you needed more reminders for call times, if somebody tells you that and it sends you into a spiral, like what are you making it mean? And I'm like, well, because they told me that it means that I'm thoughtless and not detail oriented. And I put together a sloppy program and people are upset and mad and now I will die alone.
And they know I'm an imposter. I know nothing.
Exactly. And they know I'm an imposter. I will never be president. We're going to crawl in a hole and die of president of the world. That's such a helpful reframe all the time, like for anything around anxiety, mental health, but particularly entrepreneurship. You know, if the fear of negative feedback or not getting everything perfect is holding you back, ask yourself, what are you making that mean? You know, and think about the offers and the programs you've gone through where you've gotten a lot of value, but a few things could stand to be edited or shifted, you know, in your opinion and in your learning style. And think about that and the compassion that you offer to other people, and then turn around and give that compassion to yourself.
I freaking love that reframe because it does de-escale. Like
so many reframes.
I'm making it mean that I don't have what it takes. Like, but what did they actually say? They said they want to know when live calls are. Okay. What were the words that they said with their mouths? You know, it's so true. We read 50 layers into everything, and for what, y'all? For what? Just to beat ourselves up harder, so we'll do extra good next time. Like this isn't a Russian gymnastics team. Come on. All right, so y'all, we want to hear from you. Tell us how taking things too personally shows up in your work. Does it show up in your art? Does it show up in your business? Does it show up when you promote yourself? Does it show up in one-on-one conversations? What does it look like? How has it held you back? What have you learned from it? And if you implement any of those tools, tell us in the comments below. Are you taking a testing mindset? What are you making it mean? Oh my God, I want to make that the norm.
Right, I want to tattoo that on my forehead.
Yes.
Yep, so true.
Right in the,
Margot's getting a tramp stamp. What are you making it mean?
I mean, that will really have you reevaluating life. All right, if you guys liked this episode, please like it below, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your friends. I'm Margot Aaron.
And I'm Hillary Weiss.
And we will see you in 2 weeks.
Stop taking everything so personally. Bye, y'all.
Bye.